afternoon. I see the graveyard session after lunch.
Yeah, it's good.
So I'm just going to set the scene. And I've got those. Oh yeah, yeah. For this project, but managed largely by Professor Alagbonsi. But the process, I was part of the committee of this list. Can we just scroll down? There you are. So this was the committee tasked with the job. Let's just go there. You can see there's about 15 people involved that was involved. A nice spread of countries and societies with the task to look at the curriculum. I think the idea was not to be too prescriptive with the curriculum and to generate a core curriculum that people could adapt and use within their own specific environments as may be applicable to them. There's also the different courses that had to be taken into consideration. There is the issue of the medical curriculum, allied health sciences, pharmacists, and then also just undergraduate BScs in physiology. So again, how would one approach the curriculum that we put together, bearing in mind the particular course that you may be teaching? So again, one can, it's quite adaptable. It's a flexible document. It's a guide. It's not prescriptive, that one can use as best as you see fit. So in terms of the process, this was the committee. And it's a very thick document. And there we go. So you can see it covers what I've said now. We do not expect adopters of the curriculum to attempt to teach everything in this document. Okay. The outcomes expected of bachelor students planning to become nurses or laboratory technicians are vastly different from those for future physicians or physiologists. So one can tailor this as you see fit. And so there was an initial draft also. Prof. Abdullateef, you must just say when I should stop, when you want to come in. I'm not sure exactly. We haven't discussed the division of labor yet. So in case I go over into your territory, okay. So there was some draft generated by the committee. And then that went further just in terms of the process. Myself and Professor D. Silverthorne had a critical look as well at this. And we also just tailored this a bit around more modern thinking in terms like things such as outcomes and competencies. So she has just worked on, and the paper is in press now, on learning outcomes in physiology that they recommend. And it's the outcomes typically would just be a list of information. So it's to move away from that. And to have verbs also as outcomes, for example, critical thinking, reflect, all of those things. So this is built into this curriculum as well. So I think it's quite advanced in that way, not just a rehash of a number of outcomes, A, B, C, D, you know. This is the sort of layout of the chapters. There's 23 chapters. 1 to 15 would be all the systems. And then Prof. Abdullateef can mention the others, 16 to 23, different aspects. But this is the kind of approach that was adopted for those systems, especially, you see. So modular indicative content, outline of the sequence for presenting the content to students. So the learning outcomes would match the outline. And then you've got learning outcomes. Okay, so you can see there's verbs being used to require an action. Professor Simiat sort of, what she promoted this morning, and I fully support that. That can be assessed by the instructor. For example, it's impossible to tell if a student understands a concept. But you need to explain it, then you understand it. So that would come also through active teaching and learning. And then in terms of our expectations of the curriculum and the courses, these are some of the core concepts that you would want the students to possess once they've completed the module, okay? For example, knowledge and understanding. You should be able to describe and explain XXX. It would depend on the particular, if it's cardiovascular, it would be all of those ones, okay? Cognitive intellectual application of knowledge. If you've done it, how do you practically apply it? And there's some examples in the curriculum. You'll probably show us that. ICT, numeracy, all of those skills. So that would also, and we can fill it in. That's about the end. So that's the end of my part. I think that's sort of the background, how we put it together, from ground up to myself and Professor Silverthorne. There was a lot of work in our hands as well to structure it in terms of modern contemporary thinking in teaching and learning in physiology. So I think this document and this curriculum is cutting edge. So that it's something we can be really proud of because the latest concepts are definitely captured within it. I think, Prof, you can perhaps go further. Set the scene there.
So thank you very much, my boss. I call him my boss because in every structure, there is always an hierarchy. So if I'm the president of EASPS, I think I have AAPS above me. So that is the person I report to. And he also has Prof. Susan Ray above him. So Prof. Susan Ray is the boss of the bosses. So thank you very much for starting the curriculum discussion. As we have promised, for the first time in Africa, we are having a physiology curriculum for African universities. So we call it PhysioCAFUN. And then the reasoning behind this curriculum is to ensure that we don't do copy and paste. So we don't rely on UK, US, Europe, Canada every time to define what our students or what a physiologist should learn. So we want to have a curriculum with African face. We want to be able to produce a curriculum and say this is physiology curriculum for African universities. Dr. Farad was saying in the morning that there's a need for us to have manual, like for physiology practical. I think that can come as a next step. But we are starting now with physiology curriculum for African universities. So I'm happy that we are launching this or we are presenting this in this conference. The curriculum has parts related to the learning outcome for the entire curriculum, and it has module-specific learning outcome. So I will not go straight to the way the curriculum has been structured because of time. We will talk about the aspects of the structure. So we want to see how the curriculum looks like. What is the content of the curriculum? The first aspect, or I think before talking about the content of the curriculum, it's important for us to emphasize one part. Prof. Essop has said it, but we emphasize the fact that it serves the purpose of proposing new curriculum in universities that never had physiology program. In my presentation yesterday, I gave statistics of some countries with only one physiology program. So our plan is to ensure that after this conference, we are going to solicit for funding on how to promote physiology in Africa. We are going to solicit for funding on how to do advocacy and ensure that the number of universities with physiology program in Africa increase to a number that we can be proud of. That now in Africa we have started producing physiologists, but we cannot produce physiologists in Africa if we don't have universities with physiology program. That's why curriculum is the first step in achieving most of the objectives we want to pursue. Now, the structure is like this. We have a module called the Principles and the Core Concepts of Physiology. This module will meet some of these program level outcomes. As I said, we have program level outcome, we have modular outcome. So we are trying to match the program level outcome to the modules. So that when you learn a module, you know that you are meeting this program outcome or the curriculum general outcome. So we have the principle and core concept of physiology. That one is like an introduction. We have molecular biology and cell physiology. In the general context of the curriculum we are using presently, molecular biology is missing. What people just learn is action potential, transport across membrane, cell, whatever. The skill of molecular biology is missing in what we have presently. And that's why it is not, that's why the biochemists, they have stolen something from us. They will tell you biochemistry and molecular biology. My friend, you are not the molecular biologist. No. Even we in physiology, we are also molecular biologists. And they are calling that because it is grossly missing in our curriculum. So these have been now eminently captured under the module of molecular biology and cell physiology. And it's a part that will make our physiology trainees to have competence on molecular biology techniques. So that when they finish, they can be employed in molecular biology lab, they can be competent, and they can be, let me say, proficient in doing molecular biology studies. Then we have cell-cell communication and control system. I do tell people that physiology is about regulation. It's about control. You can't discuss physiology without control. Professor Orich was telling us about the control of circulation in the morning. You saw him talking about mechanism. Almost everyone that have spoken about some aspect of physiology in this conference, they have been talking about mechanism. And there is no mechanism without control. And how can you understand control when there is no understanding of the feedback mechanism? So how can you understand that when there is no understanding of the communication between cells? So that's why we pull out this as a module of its own. Don't want to do things together. We want to have cell-cell communication and the control system as a unique module, so that someone who is coming to learn physiology is very clear about how cell communicates, about the control system in the body as a whole. So apart from this, we have endocrine physiology as a standalone module. We have the cellular neurophysiology. What is new here is that we are now approaching neurophysiology from two perspectives, from the cellular perspective and from the system perspective. We want a situation whereby when you are talking about the special senses, or when you are talking about the cerebellum, as in the core of the neurophysiology, you are dealing with that under the system physiology, under the system neurophysiology. But when you are dealing with the other parts that we learn that serves like the preliminary to neurophysiology, we capture this under the cellular neurophysiology. Then we have a part of physiology of muscle. One expression whereby muscle is given a special attention of its own. We don't want a situation whereby we'll be learning muscle physiology as part of the broad excitable tissue. What we have present is a situation whereby people learn excitable tissue, and there they learn action potential, they learn muscle, and many other things. So it does not allow a clear and thorough understanding or teaching of the things that the students are supposed to learn under the muscle. So we have muscle as a standalone module. Then we have blood as a standalone module, which is different from immune physiology. You can see the way we have now divided the blood into two. In the current practice, or in the current mode of teaching, we teach blood, and in the blood teaching, we mix with we mix with immune system. So that's why we are not able to go deep into the understanding of blood. And that's why someone who has learned blood physiology is not competent to compete with people who call themselves immunologists. I believe that a very clear teaching and delivery of blood module should enable a student to be competent in immune function. But most of our graduates of physiology, they are not competent in immunology or immune function because their knowledge about immune system is weak. They are just taught at the periphery of what they are supposed to learn. So that's why we are breaking this module, so that the tutors or the lecturers will be able to treat them singly. So blood is there, immune physiology is there. Then cardiovascular physiology, I think that is not new. It is something we are used to. Respiratory physiology is there. Also as a standalone module, it is not new. Renal physiology is there. What is new now here is that we are taking something out of renal system. We don't want renal system to just be the beginning and the end of fluid regulation in the body. So we have a standalone module for renal physiology. We have another standalone module for integrated control of fluid, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. We are pulling acid-base balance out of renal system. Not that we are saying it is not controlled by the kidney, but because we want special attention to be paid to the regulation of what? Acid-base balance, acidosis, alkalosis. A kind of proper mechanism should be taught to the students. And then how the body integrates many organs to regulate fluid. Our understanding is that it is not only the kidney that regulates fluid in the body. There are other organs in the body that regulate fluid. So we should have a model that will treat regulation of body fluid holistically instead of just concentrating on the kidney only. And that's why it is difficult for a guide of physiology to go into the deep explanation of how body fluid is regulated without apart from mentioning kidney only. So with the approach of having a module for body fluid regulation, that one will make the understanding to be better. Then we have the GIT and metabolic physiology. This time we are treating metab under GIT. So meaning that in the GIT module, we are ensuring that as you are teaching people digestion, as you are teaching them absorption, as you are teaching them the GI parts, you should be able to talk about the metabolism taking place in those parts of the body. So we should be able to tell us how the GI leads to what? The metabolic process. Then we have a module for reproductive physiology. That one is not new, it's something we are used to. We have a module also for environmental physiology. Well, in some jurisdictions, they have environmental physiology in their curriculum. In some, they don't have. But now, because we are trying to benchmark in Africa, we are trying to produce something that universities from 52 countries in Africa can borrow from. So we are trying to have something that people can have as a resource document. In terms of if they want to revise the curriculum they have, they can borrow from this. If they don't have and they want to start afresh, they can borrow from this. Then we have the principle of animal experimentation and biomedical experimentation. This one will enable graduates of physiology to be exposed to the skills in animal experimentation. It is in basic science that we value animal. Like in the part of East Africa where we are, okay, I'm not ashamed to say that in the University of Rwanda where I come from, in the School of Medicine and Pharmacy, we don't have animal house. I was the first one to propose a budget for animal house. I approached the dean. I'm a physiologist. I'm not doing clinical trial. I am not doing clinical trial. I am doing basic research. I use rats. Rats is my friend. If I'm doing experiment, I interact with rats, with mice. But I have been here since 2017, no animal house. How can I do research? I publish only by collaboration with my partners from other countries. I don't have a lab, I don't have animal house to go and dissect rats and feed rats and give ketamine and sacrifice or do cardiac cervical dislocation. It's a problem for basic science if you don't have the facility for animal research. Even if you have the animal facility, we need to build capacity of people on how to do basic science research. So that's why we have a special module for principle on animal experimentation and biomedical instrumentation. It is not only about knowing how to use rats, it's about also knowing how to operate equipment. I'm happy we have the instruments here. They are here to facilitate session on ECG, on EEG, on spirometry. We want a module that will enable the graduates to be able to troubleshoot problems in an equipment and solve the problem. There are many labs that we have in Africa that equipment there are wasted because of a little fault. In a lab, equipment will be faulty and no one will be able to troubleshoot and solve and repair the equipment. It is because during training, no one was exposed to the bioinstrumentation. No one was exposed to how the equipment works. And with this, it can reduce wastage in resources and it can even be the beginning of having a physiology entrepreneur, which is another module we are introducing. So we want physiology graduates to be able to handle equipment, to be able to manipulate equipment, so that even in biology, so like any insurance as a company, should be able to employ a physiology graduate because we have known how to operate the equipment. So we are looking at a situation whereby the opportunities for physiology graduates will not be only restricted to teaching in class, but in industries that are into equipment, supply, and whatever. So bioinstrumentation will help a lot in such regard. Then epidemiology, biostatistics, and research methodologies are another thing. We want a situation whereby physiology graduates will be employable in domains in biomedical research as a whole. People in public health, they do survey, they do qualitative research, they do a lot of research, but the fact that you don't have public health degree, they may feel that you don't have the competence. But by having a module that trains students on epidemiology, that trains them on biostatistics and on research methodology, a physiology graduate should be employable in research activities. You should be able to be research assistant and whatever. So, and also in design of research, this kind of module will equip students with the skill on how to do study design. And it will help our students to even learn how to write proposal, either for your study or for grant writing. So that's part of the reasons why we have this standalone module for that. Then we have clinical placement in laboratories. This one is unique. I'm not aware of curriculum for physiology yet that has captured this kind of approach for practical skill. And it was part of what we were discussing yesterday. In the current situation, we are producing physiologists who know mechanism on their head, but they are not able to demonstrate what they have learned. If I tell someone who is in 400 level of physiology or 300 level, they will tell you action potential. They will explain everything. But to demonstrate what Professor Hero was saying yesterday, it's a problem because the hands-on skill is not there. If you call a 400 level or 10 level in physiology, they may be able to tell you about the blood flow, but to be able to do what Professor Horrich has been explaining may be a problem, and so on and so forth. So we want to be able to produce physiology graduates that will be employable in the industry. Meaning that if you say you are a physiology graduate, we want you to know how to do ECG, so that a cardiology can employ you in this field. So that hospitals that are not even specialty hospitals can employ you and say, you man ECG for us. In the current practice in Africa, there is no professional course. There is no training in Africa that is training people on how to use ECG. There is no degree of ECG. The only person that is supposed to be competent to do ECG is a physiologist. But we are not grabbing this yet. Even the medical lab scientists, their training is blood related, microscopy, immunology. They are not going to the ECG or the physiology testing side. So we want to be able to produce graduates that will be able to grab the job waiting for us on physiology testing. That's why we are having clinical placement in laboratories. And this one will involve rotating from one lab to another. It's like industrial training. It is like laboratory attachment. And it's a practical module of its own. Then we have another module of seminars on current topics in physiology. And that one will prepare students on public presentation, on the journal plots, and so on and so forth, so that students can start to discuss about the current trends in physiology. So that it will not be the physiology of 20 years ago that we are still discussing today. We should be able to have sessions to discuss about the current trends. Then we have physiology entrepreneurship. This kind of module is sending a signal that we don't want to produce physiology graduates that is a liability to the community. We want to be able to produce graduates that can be an employer, not only an employee. We shouldn't be producing graduates that will only be writing CV every time and be applying for jobs. We should start training our physiologists on how to create jobs from what they have learned. So that's why we are bringing in entrepreneurship as part of the curriculum we are talking about. And then the last one is the research project. So that's how the structure of the curriculum is. And I will not be able to run through every page because it's a large document of 65 pages. But I will just go to the part of the clinical placement so that we can have an understanding of which kind of labs these students will rotate during the program. It's a long document, yes. I'm almost there. Yes, clinical placements. So here, the module is talking about hands-on skill acquisition in ECG. We want a situation whereby, under this module, according to the university timetable, according to the university calendar, students can go and say, I want to use 1 month in ECG lab. And you will learn the principle of the ECG, and you will have the hands-on experience on how to do it and do basic interpretation of the results. It is not only about learning ECG in the cardiovascular system module. We want students to be able to practice what they have learned in the class. The same thing applies to the hands-on skill acquisition in spirometry. So it will involve students being attached to labs where they can learn spirometry. They will learn the art of doing it, and they will learn the art of people interpreting. So we have another one on EEG and EMG. So for people who are interested in neuroscience, they will agree with me that EEG is very important. So having a kind of attachment or maybe clinical placement in labs with EEG will give our students such competence to know how to do all of this. Then we have the skill acquisition on sensory functions. So issues like audiometry, ophthalmoscopy, and then gaussian testing, and so on and so forth will be captured under this. Then we have skill acquisition in chemical pathology. This one will enable students to be exposed to assays on how to do hormonal assays, either with ELISA or with other techniques. So we want students to be able to learn this, so that even when they are doing experiment research, they will not be sending samples to people to run for them. They will be able to do it themselves. The current practice is that when our people are doing research, they don't handle the equipment themselves. They send to the lab and they wait for results. Whether the laboratory technician manipulated the results, we don't know. So, but when we are able to do it ourselves, we'll be competent on even the research we are doing, or even the students we are teaching. Then we have another one on the skill acquisition of molecular biology lab. So our periodic graduates should be able to learn PCR, should be able to learn many other techniques that are available within our setting. These equipments are there. I'm not aware of any country in Africa without PCR machine. I'm not aware of any country. I'm not aware of any country that cannot do like maybe exome sequence of gene, or that cannot do some basic DNA techniques. But the fact is that the person you will find there is not a physiologist. So the person you will find there, they will call themselves molecular biologists. And this is the position I want us to review to ensure that the competence of molecular biology is also embedded in our physiology training. So that's why clinical placement in all of these labs are necessary before we can say a physiologist has been produced. So I will not take much of our time because we expect feedback from the participants. My job is just to describe to you what we have done with this curriculum, and I will not like to drop this mic without appreciating by mentioning the names of the committee members. Maybe instead of reading, I will just display their name so that as we discuss, everyone can see the name of the contributors to this curriculum. So thank you very much. As I hand over the mic to the MC.
Thank you. I would like to recognize the presence of my boss, the Deputy Vice Chancellor responsible for academic from Mobile University, Professor Emmanuel Balande. Thank you so much for being here. Now I welcome, we have heard about the curriculum. It's time for question, comments, discussion. Anyone? I would like to see their hands so that I can count. Yes. We'll start from behind because they said I will take the first part. We'll start from behind and then coming here. The last person, the one who was helping with the mic. Yes, from behind coming back here. Yes, you can keep raising your hand so that we can see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Charles.
Excuse me, please try to put your question as short as possible so that we can have as many as possible.
I just want to make a few comments. It's quite interesting, very interesting, very important that this topic was brought up. I think this just to harmonize what physiologists need to do, what we expect from physiology. I want to say that most of the things the second speaker mentioned, some of the schools in Nigeria are actually doing them for now. Recently, NUC, the Nigerian University Commission, came up with this idea of innovative courses. I happen to be doing something with them. NUC accreditation exercise, and I've been to so many schools in Nigeria. For instance, this molecular biology has been captured in some of the curriculum in some schools in Nigeria, especially the schools that are just starting physiology program. I was quite impressed when I saw it because it attracts marks to such schools and their program. And even in my school, where I come from, my primary school, which is the University of Calabar in Nigeria, we have produced so many persons who are working even in the hospital, finding such machines as mentioned by the second speaker, EEG, CG, and co. So I think that Africa is getting somewhere with what we are doing and what we expect them to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Michael Udi. I'm from Nigeria. My comment is on the aspect of developing physiology curriculum for African universities. It is good that this innovation is coming up, but my interest, the fact that we Africans, we don't have a lot of educational material to teach African students, especially as you have to do with environmental physiology. We discovered that the African environment has a level of peculiarity different from the Western environment where we borrow education material. So my interest here is the fact that African physiological eggheads, like the ones gathered here, we should be able to also put our heads together and write textbooks that address African problems as have to do with physiology. So that as we try to emphasize on solving African problems that are still related, we should be able to use our experience in Africa to bring up or put together educational materials that will be directly useful to our students. Instead of wanting to teach them the problem in Tanzania, for example, I want to borrow textbooks from the United Kingdom. It's not going to help our students much because most of the information will be more of an abstract situation. So we should be able to also come together through collaboration and see how we can write standard textbooks for African universities. Thank you.
The document is a very good but I'm just suggesting one inclusion in the document to look at the aspect of microbiology. Like Professor Land presented on the microbiota that the both very active or the both so if we can do the aspect of microbiology, it's students can know much about bacteria, know much about virus. Because I think we're now talking about the concept of mood system. So we're going to look at how the body is going to defend against those microbes. So it's important for us to also know much about microbes because this is something that has been developed in our curriculum in Africa. That physiology students don't really study microbiology very well. And that would be very difficult for us to have comprehensive knowledge of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Alagbonsi and Professor Essop for the great effort of putting up physiology curriculum for Africa. I think in Uganda, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the first person to raise vital science in physiology. And was questioned up to date, they asked me, physiology, are you a physiotherapist? Are you a physician? I mean, all this, and there was a lot of the curriculum. I, as a specimen, first person was great. First study with the nursing students, first study with this, and so on. And now I'm looking at this curriculum, which is a bit separate from what the MD, PhD, MBBS forward in nursing. And I'm looking at the challenge of needing more physiologists to teach the physiologists as a separate group. Because the order, like the other people do blood and body fluids separate, and then later they do cardiovascular, and now for us we are putting now, it's not excitable tissues, we are separating muscle, the neuron, and but other people do it as general excitable tissues where we do neuron, muscle, junction potential, and so I think we need more people like me, still small, but need to grow up to see that we get more people to deliver this great curriculum. I was also chanced to go through this clinical placement, and I spent a lot of time in the radiology department, the ultrasound and X-ray. Then that time there was no CT scan, there was only one CT scan. We do have to go to Kenya for CT scan. In Uganda there was none. Then At least now there are several of them. And I think I got a great experience in this. And sometimes I go to a clinic and someone is saying, you see, our radiologists don't yet do what? To do ECG, I can do it. Are you a doctor? I said, no, I'm a physiologist. But now, to be able to get this, we need to market the physiologist so much that they know that the physiologist has the ability to do ECG and interpret it even more than a radiologist, because it is us who teach them what to do. It is us who teach them what this means, what this potential means, and so on. Thank you.
Very much. I would like to congratulate the team for this very impressive document. Just as an add-on to the comments that have just been made, I'm wondering whether it's useful, maybe I'll give it a suggestion, to add people cardiology as part of the clinical department for competition purposes, considering that it's really nothing electric circuits like people would also under the mechanical cycle of the heart. Arching breast, congratulations. I had the same that could that clinical skills for this items of I think this is something that is useful. I think that somebody is able to do that for the that is I want to know whether these files systems whether the basic understanding of mathematical formula to basic understanding what can do, not to be able to write formulas and programs, but to understand what it can do.
First of all, I want to let my boys to appreciate the two professors for such a commendable insight. I want to say that everything so presented is geared towards giving physiology a professional stand in the academia. So I want to ask, mine is a question as well. What are the strategies put on ground to ensure there is Pan-African acceptance of these curriculum? For instance, my boss, Professor Kemp, just made a point that some of these things are already ongoing in Nigeria, where physiology is well established. While this was going on, what was the background foundation we laid when it comes to carrying every country in Africa along, who have their own national university council and will accept what we have brought forth to be a common ground for the African continent. So that's my question. Then one thing I want also to contribute is this. You see, we've all said one thing, that we have physiologists actually working in hospitals and other health centers. In fact, recently a conference happened in Nigeria, and it was organized by, in quotes, clinical physiologists. Clinical physiologists. And when I made findings, I got to know that these are physiologists who have been lucky, I use the word lucky, to have placement in the hospitals and work in maybe ECG set units, spirometry, and so they have the name for themselves and they call it clinical physiologists. That is to say that it's actually possible to have physiology have their own place in the hospital or in clinical practice. So what are the steps you have on ground to ensure that this is achieved? Thank you.
Thank you for presenting the document. I have a short questions. I would like to know, are the pathophysiological aspects included in the document or not? Or is it separate, basic and pathophysiology, or is it included in it? Because in our system, we have a separate courses, yes, basic and clinical physiology. Therefore, I would like to know how you want to understand it. And also the ventilation, will it approved by physical, for example, or not? How you want to present it to the Shire Education Authority, the specific application.
Thank you. I have one question. I have actually two. The first question, can we get this well organized, comprehensive document? So we are not just use it for the undergraduate history teaching, and to be modified and to be as cornerstone for us for the MCC, and we are thinking of having MD physiology. Because so far we don't have, I don't think any African partner even they do not have MD physiology. It's only PhD, it's only on research. So we are talking about clinical physiology, it's about have competent physiology educated to think about having MD physiology, not only just PhD research. So we can make use of it and for the postgraduate studies. And the other thing, if we can actually invite companies, because now modeling with yours becomes an interesting area or research. Thank you so much.
Think that the last one before they respond or comment on that. The last one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because very interesting program and work. Congratulations for your work. Because I'm myself, I'm the coordinator of PhD, the MSc program at the university in unit of immunology and cell biology. Immunology and cell biology. So we have PhD undergraduate and MSc this discipline, immunology and cell biology. I have colleagues. They have PhD and MSc in physiology and application, applied physiology. They have a program, PhD and MSc in biochemistry and molecular biology. And so on. But I don't know. Do you think, my technical, do you think to move on after BSc? What about MSc program, MSc in this field? Because first I noticed that you put everything. You want to teach them research, you want to teach them projects, you want, why you do not concentrate on just technician? Just technique. They have technique to check laboratories. That's the thing. But in the level of MSc, you will give them research, conception, how to do research, how to write project, how to, because here and notice that you put everything. So that is my first. And but now you have taken every down. We form the graduates in biology and immunology. They have to work their outlets after diploma is to work in the laboratory of maybe research laboratory or hospital laboratory in biology and cell immunology and so on. Biochemistry also, we have the same problem in our country. Biochemistry and molecular biology, they will work in the same outlet. And physiology, they will work in the same outlet. You think about it.
Before you respond, there's someone online. Frank wants to speak. Frank, can you hear us? You can talk now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too? Am I audible? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Can you give your comment?
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor. I want to join all the other speakers before to really commend President Essop and Professor Alagbonsi for birthing this curriculum under their leadership. It's a giant step forward, a big leap forward, and they really need to be commended. And of course, members of the committee. But having said that, I'd like to say, I think I mentioned this earlier in the morning, but I'd like to emphasize it again. If we look across Africa, there's a great need to train people in physiology at the undergraduate level. For now, maybe if we do the statistics, we'll find out that it's perhaps only a handful of universities in South Africa, and then in Nigeria, probably Egypt, that have BSc programs in physiology. I think we really need to address this problem. And I'm happy for the curriculum because I think it will serve as a guide, for those who really wish to start undergraduate programs in physiology. And I'd also like to say that the AAPS, haven't gone this far, should take proactive measures to try and encourage young Africans to take up physiology as, should I say, a career? I don't know. Because already, I mean, the professions are already very popular. Medicine, everybody wants to do medicine. Pharmacy, med lab science, and occupational therapy, physiotherapy, they are already popular. Most people want to go in there. Most young Africans want to go in there. But we cannot say that for physiology. First of all, they may not even be aware of what physiology is. So we have to take proactive measures to encourage them. Of course, it should be in a regulated manner because there is always the question that people ask that where are they going to work? I agree that that's a valid question. But like I said in the morning, the person who started the BSc Physiology program at the University of Lagos, he was asked the question, where are they going to work? And he countered and said, hey, the way I'm going to train them, they will be, wherever they find themselves, they will be very good and functional, and they will be highly needed. And this curriculum here, I think is just excellent. It covers soft skills, it covers hard skills in physiology and all that. So I think it's really very great. But I also suggest that we take proactive measures to encourage young African students to take up, should I say, career in physiology, so that we can fill the wide gap that's existing for now. If we do that, then in the next couple of years, we are going to have a lot of young people that have skills, good skills, in physiology, and that will not only contribute to training of people in physiology, but will also help to, expand capacity to do physiological research in Africa. So congratulations once again to Professor and Prof. Alagbonsi and the team for this great step forward. And I really want to commend you. So thank you all very much. And thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Now I'd like to welcome the presenter to respond.
Okay, thank you all for the valid points you have raised. I will start to take some of the points that I've noted, and I'll pass it on to my boss to conclude. The first part, we it will be to merge some comments that have to do with suggestions of what we can have. And that's why in academics we believe in peer review. Maybe I will give you like a 1-minute insight of the process it went through. The draft was made, then we forwarded the draft to the committee. The committee worked on the drafts. Some of the reviewers or some of the committee members, they are in this room. Professor Bojimini, who just finished speaking, was also one of the committee members. We have University of Rwanda, myself as the initiator of this curriculum. We have Professor Faadiel, co-organizer from South Africa. We have Professor Yassir from Suez Canal University in Egypt. We have Professor Trevor Yabudia from University of Pretoria in South Africa. We have Professor Goma Pastor from University of Zambia. You can see Professor Pastor is the president of Zambian Physiological Society. Professor Trevor Yabudia is from PSSA, Physiological Society of Southern Africa. Professor Yazir is the vice president of AAPS. Now we have Professor Amar Said, Professor Frank Mojimini from the University of Namibia, Southern Africa. We have Professor Amar Said from the University of Khartoum in Sudan. She is the president of Sudanese Physiological Society. We have Professor Jerry Sternan from Kilimanjaro University in Tanzania here. He's from EASPS. He's seated in this room. We have Professor Emmanuel Balandia, the DVC of MOAS. He's comfortably sitting in the front. We have Professor Yunus Raji, representing the Physiological Society of Nigeria, PSN. We have Professor Fatou Bintou Sarr, is the president of Physiology and Pathophysiology Society from West Africa. We have Professor Abdullateef Alagbonsi, also from SA2P. Then we have Dr. Ashabilan, the gentle lady herself. She's not in this room, she's a rapporteur from Monimbili University here. Then we have Professor Emeritus Ulrich Pohl, the Mosaic, from the German Physical Society, Secretary of IUPS. And we have Professor Dick Siverton. The two of them are advisors. I mentioned this for people to understand how we have explored collaboration in producing this curriculum with real people from notable physiological societies. In Africa, there is no recognized physiological society that does not have hand in this curriculum. So we have Sudanese Physiological Society, we have the EASPS in East Africa, we have PSA from South Africa, we have Zambia, and so on and so forth. So our plan after the adoption in this conference is to now send the adopted version to the societies so that they can use it to engage in their conference. So it's a product of collaboration. We collaborate with those countries. And what we are seeing here is going to be under the condition of AAPS. And that's why AAPS is now championing the cause of seeing how we are going to implement. So by that, I'm trying to answer the question of Dr. Ibe when he asked how we are going to ensure that the curriculum is used by the societies or by different countries. The president of PSM, for instance, Professor Alagbonsi, was one that nominated Professor Raji to represent PSM in this committee. So president of societies in Africa, they nominated their delegates to be in this committee. We didn't pick. We allowed societies to nominate their delegates. And that is what led to this process. So now, talking about the modules some of them are suggested, modules like echocardiography, or maybe ultrasound, or maybe mathematical modeling and bioinformatics. There have been suggestions now that we should add this to relevant modules. We are taking this in good faith, and in the final version after this conference, we are going to put them in the appropriate places. For instance, we are going to put echocardiography under the clinical placement so that they can learn some echo from the labs. Ultrasound also will be part of the clinical placement. Then mathematical modeling will be part of biostatistics, as suggested by Professor Orange. Then microbiology, we will try to incorporate some relevant parts into the immune system, as you have suggested. And then we will incorporate also bioinformatics into maybe the module of biostatistics. So we'll try and ensure that all the suggestions made here are evidently captured. Now, talking about pathophysiology from my sister here, we don't want pathophysiology and the standalone module. We want to learn the function and end it with the pathophysiology. So meaning that in the module description, it is because of time. I am not able to go into the details of every module because we may not live here if I start doing that. So the pathophysiology is not a standalone module, but it is a fragment of every module. Meaning that when you are learning GIT, you will learn ulcer, you will learn other areas of pathophysiology of GIT. When you are learning CVS, you will learn hypertension and some other pathophysiology. That is the way we have designed it. So that it is a blend of normal and patho of that system. Then talking about whether it can be, okay, Professor Lamis, whether it can be modified to suit MSc or other postgraduate program. You see, there was a lot of debates during our committee meeting whether this curriculum should be bachelor. There are some committee members that wanted it to be postgraduate curriculum. Some committee members wanted it to be undergraduate. It was a tough debate. We decided that let us build the foundation. Since we have identified the fact that physiology is almost winding up or collapsing in this part of the world, let us strengthen the base, which is the bachelor. So our target is that when you look at the first page, this curriculum is for undergraduate program. So we agreed in the committee that when we adopt the bachelor and we have bachelor curriculum as a first, then we can scale it up and say maybe another assignment will be to now propose postgraduate curriculum. But what we have done now is to produce undergraduate curriculum so that we can start from somewhere and we can take one step at a time. But I agree, the way it is, some universities can develop, can derive their motivation from this and try to edit, modify, to propose postgraduate, no problem. This one can be an inspiration for them. But we are saying that this is a bachelor program. But for universities who don't have postgraduate and they want to modify this, they can do that. So that one, I think, is the response to that. What happens to MSc program? I think I'll answer this part by saying that our next step is to see how we can propose postgraduate curriculum. But the big thing is that we don't want it to remain a paper document. We are looking at a situation whereby we are going to mobilize resources to start implementing this curriculum or this program in countries across Africa. So thank you very much. I'll give to Professor Essop to.
Thank you very much, Chair. There are some very good questions, actually, very insightful. So I'll just focus on some. There's quite a few, actually, 10 or 11. Okay. So the textbooks, one person suggested that. I think that's probably down the line if it's necessary. It's basic physiology. Perhaps we should look at the examples we give when we teach. That's part of decolonization. That we use the basic textbooks to say we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you sort of just make it your own context. That would be my take on that. And then there were suggestions to improve the curriculum. Thanks for that. I'd like to comment, so all of the suggestions we will look at, and the comment was made that we put everything there, and that is spot on. It's very ambitious then, you must think. There's no way you can do all of that in an undergrad course. So I think that's precisely the idea that one can, like in a supermarket, you pick and choose for your particular curriculum. Yeah, you can decide, and even then, it's not, you can use it in the postgraduate sense as well. That's the actual aim of this document, that you can customize it. So we rather put everything in there that you can decide later, because some people are saying bioinformatics is still missing. So we need to add more. So, and then people can decide what would be important for them to take and to leave out. I think very important the idea to also focus. I would say perhaps an honors course that we've got. We don't have it in the state, but is a kind of space where you can do things like machine learning, bioinformatics, and little modules in physiology. That's what we do. Because the undergrads, you're going to basically focus on the basic organ systems. But you need those newer technologies to be covered as to give your students that advantage when they graduate. So that's definitely a good point. Basic or clinical, that was one question. I think it's basically the physiology we've got. But some of the techniques in there would be more clinical and applied. Then the other one was in terms of, this is an important point, I've left this to the end. Physiology jobs encourage young applicants to take physiology as a career, and so forth and so forth. And then Professor Akademi made an important point there. He said, but there's also biochemists and molecular biology. And that's true. I agree with you. In the marketplace. They're not going to say, oh, Faadiel Essop, you're a physiologist, there is a red power. The competition is equal. That's your point. So we've got to think very carefully, what type of skills do we want to impart our graduates with? I can actually share our experiences at Stellenbosch. Professor Mojamini inquired about this. We've got undergraduate programs, the bachelor's degree. So in our third year classes, we've got 200 students just doing physiology. So what jobs would be waiting for 200 graduates? They come to me late in that year, Prof, what can I do next year? I need a job. So even if you add echo and all of those techniques, there's only so many positions, especially in resource staff places. But they can maybe employ one technician a year or 5. What about the other 180? Your question. So my answer is always that we've got to give the graduates, whether it's a BSc level, honors, masters, there's the discipline, but there's also generic skills that we critical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking. How to publicly speak, you've got to present your data. It's about iron channel, but it's not about that. It's how to convey your message in an easy way. Writing skills, you've got to write up a piece or a report. But so our graduates would typically move not necessarily only in physiological type of job. So some would, I made a note, some would typically go into like work for an ADI or they become sales agents. They work for biotech companies. If you've got a biotech industry also, in the US there's many, but in Tanzania, so you've got to ask that question. Would you get a job there? So that would be another one. Education, definitely. So people combine that first degree with a year of teaching. They become a physiology teacher. It's not lost. You just apply your skills a bit differently. Science communication. We need people to fill that gap. Whether it's online media, but you've got the skills. So you may not be a classic physiologist, no? But you're still exercising those skills in a broader sense. Some have even gone into the banking sector because they've got those critical skills, and so forth and so forth. So I think that would be my point, that we can have these programs, but what we've got to think creatively also at the same time and not be stuck. Listen, I'm a physiologist. The world owes me, not necessarily. It's a brutal world. It's a competitive world. And so you've got almost a social contract with the student that comes to you and says, I want to do a degree or an honors or a master's. And to say, I say this up front, listen, this is the reality. You still want to do it? Yes, okay. So I know you're committed and passionate about. But you can't take somebody into that. At the end they come out and they may be unemployed. You said some people are not doing what they should do. So it's to find that sweet spot, and I think for other countries that have gone down that route, like ourselves, to share our examples with you. So it works for us. We still graduate 200 every year. So the program is running. But we have a bit of a broader outlook in terms of the employment of our graduates when they finish up. That they may not necessarily, because there's only so many universities, so many teaching positions, that you simply cannot give everybody a job like that.
Thank you very much. We can put our hands together for President Abdullateef Alagbonsi. Thank you so much. Okay, yes, we have one more comment.
Sorry, I thought I should miss the opportunity. Congratulate the team on the great work done. When I look at this curriculum, it's like a reference job. We can go in and decide what to include, what not to include in our curriculum. What I would advise, if possible, maybe to further categorize each item as a must-have versus good to have, so that people across the continent, they know, let's say, systems physiology or pathophysiology. That is a must-have. And then this other issue to do with bioinformatics and microbiology, it's good to have space. The reason I'm saying this is depends on the context when this is taught. If this is given in the context of a student who is doing an MD program, you know that they will cover this through microbiology, will cover through biochemistry and so on and so forth. But if someone is starting a different kind of program, maybe EASPS in physiology, that students don't have access to these other things, then these things become they are upgraded from good to have to must have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a quick response to that. Yes, when Professor Faadiel Essop was talking about the description of the curriculum, there is a part where he mentioned that modules 1 to 15 cover the organ system and general principle. Module 16 to 23 covers the additional content. So now we can borrow from what you have said now. The module 1 to 15, they are the core physiology modules. They can be grouped under the must-have that you have suggested. Then we can say that the 16 to 23 can be may have, like elective. So we are going to use the terminologies we have proposed now to make it clearer. So that anyone reading the curriculum can understand which one they must do, which one they may do. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for our presenters. They're going to sit. I think we're finished with the rally. You can go back and sit now. Thank you so much.